Hi, this is Justin from PAX, and I wanted to talk a little bit about software quality. Specifically, I wanted to talk about acceptance criteria, usability, and doing good work. And I also want to talk about budget efficiency because I think that um, really high productivity teams nail something that I've never seen expressed in language, and it's this quality of focus. And what the focus is on quality, and everyone. But then this is where the issue comes: is that everyone has their own opinion about what quality is, and that's actually the issue. The issue is that everyone has an opinion about quality, and people need to understand that different kinds of quality matter to different kinds of stakeholders at different times. So even one developer, um, you know, quality means different things to developers. If you download NumPy and you open the code, you'll realize it's almost unreadable. But you don't evaluate NumPy based on the code. You evaluate it based on its usability as a module. So when we as developers download NumPy, we think, oh, it's a software package. I want to go to Stack Overflow. I want to see some good code examples. Wow, this is a great package. When we work with ourselves, we think, okay, can I extend and use this code? Oh, I need to make some changes. I have to care about my syntax so when I read this in the future, I understand it. And when a business team evaluates a product, what they do is they go through the prototypes, mock-ups, and a productive team knows that if, for example, they're working on a software product, that they put 90% of their effort into the designs, mock-ups, prototypes, and case studies, and they don't put as much effort into the rest of the stack. Why? Because every project has a limited budget, and you're investing in what allows your project to succeed, right? And so this is a lesson, and I see people get it wrong all the time. And when it's wrong, it doesn't change itself without really great management or without a eureka. So a eureka can come after months and months and months of beating your head on the wall. Someone might be a really genius individual engineer who's a senior developer type, and their skill sets are around software architecture, code structure. So you might have a single developer investing all their time in this sort of area, right? So they're spending all their time working on software and deployment architectures and working on all this stuff. And then at the end of the day, there might be this underlying traction problem. And this is a problem I've personally faced with my own project in the past, where we have, as an engineer, you naturally, you see everything to a hammer, everything's a nail. So you think, oh, I have a traction problem. We have to improve the system. It's like you actually don't have to improve the system. You have to explain the system. And this idea that you're focused on the wrong artifact at the wrong time means that all the dollars you're spending in this red area don't actually do anything. They're just wasted conversations and time. And I think that's what this grid is supposed to address, is this idea that if you have a problem that you want to help with, so if you have a project, I mean, a classic project for a software team is that you probably want to ship your component. So if you want to ship your component to real users, so you want multiple teams to use your product, then what you want to spend your time on is new people using your product, and knowledge transfer. Well, how does that happen? Well, people need really clean, wrapped up software libraries, and people need really clean test and code examples. And it happens to me all the time where people talk about, okay, we need to ship the product. Okay, what's the next step? The next step is let's read the code and write some documentation and do a case study. None of these activities relate at all to deploying or adoption. If you want to adopt, you want to go to Stack Overflow, you want to see 10 examples. So if you want your product to be adopted, you need 20 examples, right? It makes sense. But I see people mess it up all the time. And what happens is they will actually kind of jump around. Like there'll be this nagging need in the project for tests and examples. And what I'll see people do is spend a week on code files, and then they'll go to a meeting and do some mock-ups about the product, and then they'll write some documentation. Oops, which is kind of close, and then they'll do some videos and explainers, and all this while there's all this labor that's missing the point. And so efficient teams know quickly, right, we have a problem with integration, let's get the tests and examples, and almost the whole team will will rally around this one aspect of the project. And then obviously, as the project runs, typically what happens is problems either move up or down the stack. So you start out with a new idea and prototype it, and you get it to a certain level where it's obvious that it works, and then the next biggest problem becomes, okay, the team has to recognize and understand it. Cool. And then after that, then you need to wrap up the system as a package, right? So that's next. Okay, after that's done, then you do, this is sort of a technology forward innovation. And then you worry about, well, how do we explain this and ship it and make sure we can manage it and do a bit of documentation. And then you do your sales and delivery. So this is a good way to run if you are if you're a scientist or you're running experiments. This is the cycle. This is what we're taught in your masters of engineering, or if you do any scientific study, is that you run experiments and then you release the experiments up the stack because they have intrinsic value because of the data. If you're worried about traction first or shipping a product, the process is reversed. So you start at the top and you say, I want sales and popularity. You work out the designs, products, case studies, and prototypes that will get you traction. And then after that happens, you move down the stack. So you say, okay, great. Now I want traction and scale. And this is actually where you'll hit a problem because your product's not ready. But what you get are your exact user requirements for your product. So you know the exact software packages, tests, and code examples you have to write. Right? So you have solidified need and demand for your product. You get down to writing software packages and code examples. And then after all of that, you work on all of this stuff. And to be honest, as you move down the stack, the quality slips because what you're prioritizing is the top, right? So you're not, like, when it comes down to the bottom, I mean, in terms for products, this level is kind of like who even cares about it? It's kind of gray. These can be kind of important. They're important. Your software packages and code files and documentation, depending on your product, they're kind of important. And then all this stuff is pretty critical. Like, you kind of have to get this stuff right if you're doing a product. And so depending on where you are, your focus on this grid will be different. You need help with different areas, and it's really easy to align and see, okay, what should we be focusing on so we deliver on those areas. If you're focused on the wrong area, you can spend infinite energy on the wrong area. Your meetings, you can have 100 meetings about code trying to solve a sales problem, and you'll never ever get anywhere. You can have 100 meetings like that. You can have 100 meetings where you try to solve a traction problem with unit tests and talking about use examples. You're like, I have all these code examples, and you have a traction problem. Your code examples aren't your tests and your code examples aren't going to solve your traction problem, right? And so once you get aligned, all your problems go away, and that's it. A little bit more of an in-depth talk, but I don't know. It's an area I'm passionate about, and when it comes to managing teams, this is the subject. This is what I watch for in meetings. This is kind of the secret sauce, I guess, of how to manage a project as a high level technical participant. And that's it. Okay, bye.